Progressive's Name Your Price option gives me a starting point and then lets me find the best price for me.
Sounds like you know your stuff.
Thank you.
This also sounds like my coworker, Jean, who should be at work in about an hour.
Oh, how'd you know?
You can full flow.
Name your price and save. Call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or go to Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates, Mayfield Village, Ohio. Available in most states for new quotes. Price match may be limited. Prices vary based on how you buy.
KWFM, South Tucson.
The views of this program are not necessarily those of KWFM, its management, or its sponsors. The host is solely responsible for the content.
On a mission given to me by Woody Shaw, Sunship, Dizzy, and Billy Higgins, dedicated to pursuing a piece of our cultural heritage through interviews with my jazz heroes, this is The Jake Feinberg Show. Welcome, everybody, inside the studios of KWFM 1330 The Star. This is The Jake Feinberg Show. And a child is born, Asia Guo Feinberg, 6 pounds, 14 ounces, for all the world to see. I'm a very happy papa. Mentors are important in the life of anyone who dreams. Mentors are also essential to those who have talent. Guys like Mark Levine had Jackie Byard, and the skipper Henry Franklin had Al McKibben. Stalwarts of their instruments and of mind, body, and spirit. But others are blessed to have mentors of blood and kin. My guest today is a good example of that. He was raised under the tutelage of his father, Tyree, who was a legendary trombone player with Satchmo. Being wide-eyed and impressionable, my guest took the bandstand in his own right and became one of the headiest vibists, flautists, saxophonists, clarinet, oboe this country and world has ever seen. He was a leading studio musician with the likes of Mongo Santamaria, Cal Jader, Dizzy Gillespie, and Donald Byrd, among others. So much to talk about. Roger Glenn, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Great to be here, Jake. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine, man. It's an honor to have you. Your dad gets all the publicity, but I found it funny today in reading that your mom hipped you to Johnny Pacheco and Eddie and Charlie Palmieri. And
That's correct.
I was hoping you could talk about how the leaders in the African-American music scene and the Chicano music scene at that time helped drive the music forward that you were experiencing.
Well, I'm originally from around the New York City area. Born in Manhattan, lived in the Bronx, then we moved to Englewood, New Jersey. So that area is a mixture of many cultures and diversity, and so I was exposed to all kinds of music.
In that sense, that what I mean by that is, though, what was the energy like, and what was the leadership like that made it so vibrant and sort of put it in the context of the closest thing that we were getting close to a world music sound at that point. There was, in my mind, there seemed to be a racial tolerance at that point, stronger than it is today.
Yeah, in many ways, yes. I mean, today it's an interesting mix today. I think also due to the internet, also due to the fact that mass media has been able to bring in a more worldly view to everyone. But I think the thing is, though, that was essential there. It was more people to people, face to face, as opposed to over the internet or something of that nature. So the community would grow together and play together more. So I think that may be one factor that's involved as compared to today.
The word that I use is intimacy. It was just the idea that you guys were, much closer, and you communicated, like you said, face to face, not, in bubbles, so to speak. But at the same time, for instance, when was the first time your mother took you, or did you go to like the Palladium to see Tito Puente? How young were you? Were you allowed in, even underage?
Well, when I went to the Palladium, I was of age. I could walk up those steps, and they wouldn't throw me down saying you're too young. But no, I mean, my experience was earlier than that. I mean, what was interesting in my early life, as far as on the Latin side, let's talk about the Latin side of my life in terms of the music. I remember coming home from school, I think it was elementary school, and there was a record that was laying in the gutter without a label. And I took it home and I played it, and this music just grabbed me. And I said, wow, this is great. And I would listen to it, and I the band I had, which was the Latin Jazz Tet, with some friends of mine, Ronnie Scruggs, Melvin Brackett, a whole bunch of guys, Ben Howard, just some great musicians. By the way, Ronnie Scruggs' mother was also Faye Adams of a hit. She had a hit called "Shake a Hand."
No, I mean this is great because I mean it's nothing like having that. You had that Latin jazz band, the same guys, the Skipper and Carl Burnett, Roy Ayers. They were doing the same thing on the West Coast.
Yeah,
this is so class. So continue, please.
I mean, Ronnie later worked with the Isley Brothers also to show his musical career. Wow. But what had happened was I played this, and we listened to this, and we didn't know exactly who it was, and but we used to play. We mimicked these things. It's like how you start to get in. We were young kids. Then I realized later on, this as an aside to this was Cachao, the bass player. Cachao's Descargas was the name of that album. And to put that to full circle, when I was working with Mongo, we recorded an album that Cachao was playing with us. So I mean, that really brought it. It was in preparation for that moment. But
no, I was going to say. So at that time, you had. Tell me the setup of the band. Were you playing vibes, and who else? What were the instrument? What was the instrumentation like? And you were basically, that was the one record you had. And what were you also listening to via the airwaves at that time?
Oh, during that time, well, gosh, I mean, one of the groups that had vibes that I used to listen to, aside from Cal Jada, of course, in terms of Latin music, but also Joe Cuba had a vibe player in his band. And as a matter of fact, what was an interesting thing, my father was doing the world, what do you call it? It was in New York City. This is like, gosh, I forget what they would World Expo or some sort of thing like that. Right. And one of the exhibits, they had different groups, and Joe Cuba was playing there, and that was the first group I ever had a chance to sit in with as a young kid.
Unbelievable, on vibes, and that is just.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And I I was wondering, like, there's all this sort of mystery to me. I mean, again, I've told the story enough, but I was born in 1978, so all the music that I love so much, and the energy, the pulsating rhythm sections, and the vibes, and the congos, and all that stuff, it was so happening before my time. So it's in some ways it's like you playing the record where you can't really see, you find the record in the gutter, you can't necessarily see these people, but you want to imitate it, and you want to get back and somehow push back into a time that was filled with that kind of stuff. And I say, how was it? Did you get introduced to? Did you meet Cal at an early age when Al McKibben? Because the way I hear it is that when Cal was in with George Shearing, Al McKibben would take Cal over to the Palladium and see Tito Puente and stuff like that. Is that accurate?
That portion, probably, yeah. I think, Cal's also, the influence was, also with George, and Armando Peraza was in that band also back then. But I think, as far as my interaction, first meeting Cal was when he came to the east, and he was playing at the Apollo, and I was able to go backstage, and I met him. You know, he and my father were friends, and so, you know, there was that connection there. So that was that, and right now we're only talking about one segment of my life. I mean, on the Latin jazz side, as opposed to the jazz side.
We have don't worry. We're going to get into it. For the audience, I want to mention that Roger's father, Tyree, was photographed with 57 notable musicians in the 1958 portrait "A Great Day in Harlem" by Art Kane. And the truth is that I just wanted to know what it was like to have a mentor as your father, and how that felt as a young musician, the kinds of values that the pressures he put on you, but also maybe sometimes the way he would step back and let you learn on your own. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, you know, like the thing is, what was interesting is like, you know, I guess my father was able to do it for us through exposure, which I think is still the key. You know, if you want your kids to play an instrument, or, you know, to expose them, they just have to be in that environment to hear things. You know, growing up, I had my own group, and I was doing this Latin jazz thing. I think one time, and the guys in the band remember this because we were rehearsing down in the basement, and we were working this song, and it just wasn't, I guess it wasn't right. And my father comes down the stairs and shows us, you know, you guys got to play these changes the right way.
I love it. I love it. He was listening all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, my real education with my father was when I, as an adult, and having a chance to play in his band. And that was an education. I mean, the members in that band was they aside from my father were great mentors. I mean, we had Wynton Kelly on piano, we had Papa Joe Jones on drums, bassists from Milt Hinton to Slam Stewart to George DeVivier to George Mraz. I mean, it was an education.
Can you talk a little bit about how it was an education for you?
Well, really learning standards. You know, like you're talking about, you know, like your era of the 70s and hearing stuff and imagining what was going on. I'm hearing music and experiencing stuff that was going on from the 30s and 40s. Right. We all go through this cycle. So it brings me full circle, you know, and then to experience, being around Louis and seeing, you know, even before that, you know. So I've been blessed in that I've been able to be in that environment of people who have created different genres of this music.
Also, the idea that for these guys, George Mraz, Milt Hinton, Papa Joe Jones, you know, you could play standards at different tempos and different times. That's the importance of playing. It wouldn't get stale. Is that what you're trying to make a point at? Yeah,
you know, just to really get the true, authentic feel of this. They would just, you know, the opportunity. You know, like what, you know, Joe Jones was Basie's drummer, you know, and it's like, what would it be like back then to be in Basie's band? You know, what was that push that was happening? Slam Stewart, Flatfoot Flugie with the Floyd, you know, Slim and Slam, you know, knowing that Wynton Kelly with, you know, from Coltrane to Miles, you know, and just being able to experience those people who gave them the inspirations of what they played, to be in that position to say, I'm being inspired by these same people.
We're talking to a legendary musician. He lives in the Bay Area now, but grew up in New York, Roger Glenn. And Roger, we're going to take a listen to a little surprise piece of music for you. I don't know when the last time you heard this, but we'll come back and talk about it.
I look forward to hearing it.
Playing Like a Man Possessed on the Whistler, 1970, Mongo Santamaria.
Was that Mongo's Way album?
That's the name of that album is Mongo 70. The
Mongo 70 album. Okay.
And then the name of the album is The Whistler. The name of the song is called The Whistler.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the amazing thing about that, and this is characteristic of sort of, again, going back to Cal Jader, but also Mongo, like that song, I mean, his percussion is there, but he is not adamant about being the leader. He wanted other people like Eric Gale and yourself to step out front. That's a selfless quality. You can't teach that. That's sort of an indelible trait.
Oh, yeah. But when Mongo played his solo, you knew whose band this was.
Exactly. Of course. No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, but to me, it's interesting that he wasn't featured on all the selections, that they allowed younger cats to get their sound out, right? I mean, that was the idea, is that you were able to hear Roger Glenn. All of a sudden you're thinking, okay, who's this flute? Who's this guy that can, that can keep pace and sound fluid and beautiful, That's there was an ability to get that sound out, and to me, it wasn't a bottom dollar. It wasn't about, there was just not as much money, and therefore it didn't cost as much to put together an album like that, and you guys were not being compensated as much. And that's made it a lot more wholesome, in my opinion. I mean, if you're making music for money, it's not going to be as wholesome.
Yeah. That's a whole nother subject in itself.
Sometimes on the Jake Feinberg Show, we like to go in different directions. But
in regards to that, I mean, what's interesting, I mean, that goes back. I think that here's a distinction of then versus now, and this even goes back to my father's time. In all due respect to the great talents that we have today, which is mainly a lot singer-oriented, we don't know who the side people are that are, who's the flute player that was in Beyonce. We don't know those names. Whereas I realized from my father's time, or in my time, back then, people knew the individuals that made up the band, and they came to see those individuals. Now it seems to be just focused on one person, and after you've been in the business and you see some of these people on some of these TV shows who are backing them up, who are phenomenal musicians, but they go unknown. So that's the difference between now and then that I noticed. Why?
Now, I'm not asking you to say why is it not that way now, but why was it like that then? Was there a more sensitivity towards the accompanist and understanding that it was a team, that it was not this sort of chest thumping number one person in the front, everybody in the band in the back?
I think that was the mindset. I think unfortunately, I think what's also happened is that nowadays we are so transfixed on the individual artist becoming the focus, that when they go out on the road, it may not be the same ones who did the recording. Or it may be a recording with the artists doing a voiceover. We have lost that sense of a group. I mean, there's still some of that in jazz, but in pop music, where it is today, it is basically, the soloist and the studio musicians, and the studio musicians are unknown, and that's the way it is. People don't, there's no depth in realizing that, so-and-so is on this and so-and-so is with this. It'll be like it may be a thing with a lot of different singers that, an artist will have, who are other hits, who have their own hits, but it doesn't go any deeper than that. It's not about, who's the piano player, who's the drummer.
And then also, the Bay Area is unique in this sense to a degree, but, I remember talking to Ron Carter, and he would talk about all these underground papers, in the Midwest, in Chicago or Detroit, that would go and cover these gigs that you were playing at these dive bars or maybe not even jazz. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, that's cool. I want to go see jazz, but it's sort of got it. I'd rather see jazz in an urban setting. It doesn't have to be not an uptight setting. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be all locked in. I mean, at some point, there was accessibility. There was writing about it. People got disseminated their information through print media, and those people and the ability for them to. It's curious to me because I wonder, with newspapers cutting staff, those people are the ones that went out and searched for culture. Those are the people that are getting cut, and that's what we so desperately need.
Yeah, the whole infrastructure has been eaten away.
So we have a couple minutes left here. Just could you talk about when a lot of you guys spent time in the Army, and I was wondering how it was that you just happened to bump into Grover Washington Jr. and Billy Cobham together.
Simple. You raise your hand and they say, "I," repeat and say your name. No, we were all unknown young people, not knowing what the future would hold for us, and it just happened. I mean, Grover and Billy are two individuals that the world has been able to know and love. Another one who was also in the band with us was John Charles, who was there was the Ray Charles Singers. John Charles is. There's Ray Charles, the singer, and there was another group. He was a white guy named Ray Charles Singers, and his son, John Charles, who was a great arranger. He later went and did Dick Cavett show, and I think he's also doing Dancing with the Stars now, also doing some arranging. But he was also part of the band, and he was an arranger when we were in the Army band together at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Matter of fact, the reason why Grover moved to Philadelphia, he and I was playing a gig in Philadelphia, and that's where he went and met his wife-to-be. What venue were you playing at when he met? Was it the Bijou Cafe? It was just some casual we were doing after, it was after our, off-post gig we did, and that's when he met her.
Time is flying here with Roger Glenn, my man. We are going to take a break, go to the bottom of the hour, come back, do a lot more music. And we're going to get through this illustrious career. I'm glad that Roger's recovered. I heard the Whitney Houston. I don't know if you saw it. I heard the eulogy was very moving.
Yes.
And but we're going to come back on the other side, and it's all about love. So hang tight, Roger, and we'll come back on the other side. Okay?
I look forward to it.
All right, my man.
Stay right there. The Jake Feinberg Show will be right back.
CNN Radio, I'm Shelby Lynn. A star-studded gathering at Whitney Houston's childhood church in Newark, New Jersey today for her funeral. Pastor T.D. Jakes offered up words of encouragement to mourning family and friends.
Love will last forever, for God is love.
Houston died last weekend in Beverly Hills, California, from unknown causes. More human remains have been found on New York's Long Island. This time, a man walking his dog in Manorville discovered bones. It's unclear if this is an isolated case or part of a possible serial killer investigation dating back several years. Pope Benedict has installed 22 new cardinals. Benedict's choices for the College of Cardinals will likely influence who will succeed him as the next pope. Each cardinal knelt in front of the pontiff and received the traditional red hat and gold ring. The most trusted name in news. This is CNN Radio.
Mike Rowe here with Jim Twitchell. Jim, what are you?
I'm a senior master technician.
You've been with Ford now for how long?
24 years, thankfully.
Jim, a lot of people hear about the works and they figure it's an oil change. It is an oil change, right?
No, Mike, it's not just an oil change.
Please proceed.
Well, it includes a brake inspection, belt and hoses check, checking your cabin filter, your air filter, tire rotation, battery test, top off all the fluids, and a multi-point inspection with a detailed report card.
All right, it certainly seems comprehensive, this works thing. What doesn't it include?
Well, that list is probably very short.
Glove compartment, you check that?
We try to stay out of your glove box.
What about my antenna?
Come see the experts at your local Ford dealer for a great value on routine service. The Works Fuel Saver package covers everything you need for just $29.95 or less after $10 rebate. Stop by today.
If we were to sum up, you'd say the Works Fuel Saver package includes pretty much everything for one low price.
It'll cover everything that your car needs for a scheduled maintenance service.
Up to 5 quarts oil, taxes, diesel, and disposal fees extra. See participating Ford dealer or visit FordOwner.com for rebate details through 3/31/12.
What's better than getting something for a great price? Getting two things for that same great price. What we're trying to say is it's buy one, get one free at Pearl Vision. So stop in and get 2 great pairs of eyeglasses or prescription sunglasses for the price of one. You're thinking, that's a great deal. And you're right. So don't wait. Stop into a Pearl Vision today.
Minimum purchase may apply. Second complete pair up to a maximum value. Maximum may vary. Same prescription. Valid prescription required. Valid only at participating U.S. locations. See store for details. Some restrictions apply. Offer ends 3/31/2012.
Live from Progressive.
Let's take a call.
Hello, Flo. Progressive's Name Your Price option gives me a starting point and then lets me find the best price for me.
Sounds like you know your stuff.
Thank you.
This also sounds like my coworker, Jean, who should be at work in about an hour.
Oh, how'd you know?
You can fool Flo.
Name your price and save. Call 1-800-PROGRESSIVE or go to Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates, Mayfield Village, Ohio. Available in most states for new quotes. Price match may be limited. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Folks, this is Jake Feinberg. One of the first things I wanted to do when I moved to Tucson was find authentic Chinese cuisine. After a tip from the Chinese Student Association, I headed over to Badar Chinese Restaurant. Well, it's been 7 years, and I have never looked back. Located at 7321 East Broadway Boulevard, Badar has been a family-run operation since 1992. The award-winning chef produces succulent dishes from sizzling ginger chicken to salt and pepper shrimp. The thing that separates Badar from the rest is that the chef procures ancient oriental dishes with the exotic island flair of Taiwan. Most importantly, there are no gimmicks or razzle-dazzle at Badar. You won't find any flat-screen TVs or karaoke machines. Badar is a place to go enjoy good food and spend time with your family. It exudes peace and tranquility after a long week of work. So come down and check out Badar Chinese Restaurant. Hong Hao Chu. It's that good. Folks, this is Jake Feinberg. When it came time to decide where to buy my daughter a piano last year, the choice was easy. We got it at Hackenberg & Sons Piano Company. Located at 4333 East Broadway Boulevard, Hackenberg & Sons is Tucson's longest-running family-owned piano business. Run by 3 brothers and a son, they pride themselves on superior instruments and customer satisfaction. It's why they've been around so long. And it's why their pianos are used at the University of Arizona, Pima Community College, and many other prestigious institutions. So whether it's for your child, business, or yourself, when you buy a piano, make sure you go to Hackenberg & Sons. It'll be the beginning of a long-lasting partnership. For more information, visit them at hackenbergpiano.com.
Even the ancient Romans knew that music can soothe the savage beast. But what if there's a beast lurking in your old stereo? Maybe it's popping static, garbled distortion, a skip in the record, or worse, dead silence. Stereo Hospital can restore smooth sound to your receiver, amp, turntable, CD player, or speakers. At the same Midtown location, 4044 East Speedway, for 10 years, Stereo Hospital might be the last shop in town, doing quick, guaranteed repairs on vintage and modern stereos. Owner Jeff Brucker has over 40 years' experience as an electronic technician, and he is happy to bring back the joy and memories only your music collection provides. Log on to stereohospital.com or call 722-4610, or just bring that mean old stereo in today. Stereo Hospital at 4044 East Speedway, inside Metronome Music near Alvernon, to calm the beast.
In this day and age, people have a lot to protect. You want to know that when you're insuring valuable goods, you have an agent you can trust. Craig Pretzinger is that agent. For auto, home, and life insurance, the Pretzinger Agency is Tucson's most honest and flexible insurance company. Have off-road vehicles or motorhomes? Pretzinger can cover that as well. Pretzinger Agency at 299-5810, located across the street from Sullivan Steakhouse on the southwest corner of River and Camp. Trust, compassion, and service. The whole package at Pretzinger Agency. Call 299-5810 or text QUOTE to 602-459-5533 to receive a no-obligation quote. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Be a part of a new coalition with Jake Feinberg. The second half of my show starts right now. Welcome back, everybody, to the Jake Feinberg Show. And we're sky high today with Roger Glenn. Roger, welcome back. So I wanted to get right to it. A clip here. I want the audience to take note of the beautiful interplay between Roger and his cohort, Donald Byrd. So settle in for a little while, Roger. We're going to take a listen. You know, it's just, I let it go on for a while because to me, it was just about, it's amazing to hear how much the focus was instrumentally driven as opposed to like what you talked today about things being vocally driven.
Oh, yeah. Different, totally different era.
Different era, but also, Roger, I mean, that you have to be able to cognitively listen to that stuff and understand what's going on. And I'm saying, what's happening with, what was happening with, was there more of a more sophistication level to people's listening skills than there are today?
Well, I don't want to. Gosh, what's so hard about this, I guess, goes into one thing in regards to what are we exposed to today. I think part of the problem is, obviously, we talk about this all the time, the lack of arts in the schools, to educate kids. I think the other thing was, in those days, people were learning how to play instruments. Today, it is, we have these things. Guitar is it. It's no longer piano. They're keyboards, which are connected to synthesizers that create thousands of different sounds. So that individuality is starting to leave us, that we used to focus on back then.
One of my sponsors is a local piano company. They've been open for 30 years, the Hackenberg Piano Company, and they had a big sale this weekend, and the only people that can afford pianos are people that are making a lot of money, and used to have middle-class families that could afford instruments. And I think music was a big part of keeping the morale up in middle-class households. And now it's almost like it's too expensive. It's become kind of a commodity thing. And but see, Roger, I have you guys on the show, obviously, to celebrate the careers, but it's also, I'm not going to sit here and waste my time. I want to find solutions and break through some of these log jams. And I'm not sure, there was a lot more money available at that time. But at the same time, to bring in the kind of, Donald Byrd was, at this time in his life, he was at Howard University. He was, mentoring the Blackbirds, and you guys were also, right in that mix. And it was such I like to stay in that melting pot, because it just felt so good. And you talk a little bit about Donald and the Mizell brothers and the kind of camaraderie and way you guys work together.
Well, interestingly enough, the Mizell brothers, Fonce and Larry, we grew up together. We're all, in Englewood, New Jersey. And also another person who was also part of that was Freddie Perrin, who lived right down the block from me. And Freddie also, Freddie and Fonce, who went to Howard and then came to L.A. and met was introduced to an up-and-coming group called the Jackson 5 and wrote some of their hits, sure. And the rest is history. But Freddie also wrote and produced Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. I did his Peaches and Herb album, Reunited. But, we grew up in that environment, and Donald used to come to Englewood also. He used to, he was good friends also with the Mizells, and I knew him also. And another person was Sheila Frazier, who was an actress who her first claim to fame was she was the Superfly's girlfriend in the movie. But
wow.
But the Fraziers were well known, and Donald used to come around there. So we all grew up in this environment where we knew each other and stuff like that. And when as a result of what Fonce and Freddie had been doing with the Jacksons, enabled Larry to come out and produce things with Blue Note Records, and we did the Blackbird album, which at that time turned out to be the highest-selling album that Blue Note had at that time.
And of course, you told the classic story where nobody's name was printed on it originally.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Please tell that story.
Yeah, you were talking about, you interviewed Harvey Mason.
Sure.
In which, by the way, Harvey Mason Jr., I guess, was also involved with Whitney Houston, which, the legacies continue.
Wow.
But I saw an interview yesterday with him. But anyway, the thing is that came out. It was this radically different album that Blue Note had put out, and everybody was interested in, it was the same. At that time, they're saying, who are these guys that are playing it? We want to meet them. We want to know them. Mm-hmm. And there was no way to find out because they didn't print our names.
So Harvey was like, "You better get those names on that album."
Yeah.
Because
they later did it when it came out on CD, but I mean the initial printing was like no names, and so we're walking around, the unknowns.
I was gonna say, because I'm looking at the CD right now, and there's like more information than's even needed. I mean, they try to compensate for it because they blew it so bad the first time. The thing about it is like the way the Mizels, and I mean, when you guys were growing up in Englewood, the images that they sing about, I know you guys were avid flyers. I mean, were you flying out of Teterboro International? Where were you flying out of? And was that sort of you guys were just in that elevated state, or was it actually images of actually real harmonious neighborhoods and positivity? I'm trying to get the feel for the balance there.
Are you talking about the fact that I'm a pilot? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, no, I know Donald Byrd was a pilot. You were, but also, I mean, there's a lot of connotations to. What I'm trying to say is, because you have contemporary African American music is rap music, and it's very angry. And this was not angry. This was looking to the future. It clearly had positive overtones to it.
Yeah. Funny thing, I mean, that's, I always like to say I try to do happy music. But what was interesting with Donald and flying, Donald, I didn't know that Donald was a pilot. We found out, like he had stopped flying for a long while, I guess, apparently. And while we were doing this, the first recording when we were doing Blackbird, he found out that I was a pilot. And we almost got in trouble one time because I took him flying, and we were supposed to do this recording, come back to do the recording session, and I took him flying. He says, "Oh man, that's great." And we landed, it was in L.A. and landed at Torrance, Torrance Airport, and I'm ready to shut the engine down. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" He says, "Oh no, I want you to I've got these friends of mine. We're going to take flying." So we loaded up these friends of his. We take them flying, and I'm saying, "What about the recording session?" He says, "Oh, we'll get back to that." And then, from there, Donald got back into flying. The album enabled him to buy a plane. It was, the rest is history.
It's a beautiful, that's such a, it was very relaxed. Nobody was very uptight at all. That's the coolest thing about it, is that you guys went into the studio, you wanted to make happy music. And like Harvey told me, you got the sheets a couple hours in advance, and it was basically, hey, do it. Hey, I like that groove. Stick with it.
A couple hours in advance, I got to walk in there and they put headphones on and say, "Let's go."
Right, and talk about that. Talk about the idea of forgetting about all the anticipation, all the anticipatory anxiety that we experience as a society, and just going in and saying, "Let's just do it. Let's do it."
Well, that's the other thing about this music, about jazz and American music in general. It's about being in the moment. I equate that also to like the Cal Tjader album I did, the one that won a Grammy. I mean, the way that came about for me was Cal was playing at this club, and I went to see him one night, and I sat in on the last number of the last song, and he said, "Man, it sounds great. We're going in the studio tomorrow. Would you like to join us?" I said, "Yeah."
No way.
And it was just magic.
Well, with that.
La onda va bien.
Hey, Dan, cue it up. Let's hit it. Linda Chicana, and at a time in our history, in our society, when Latin music could still be considered a Grammy award-winning song.
Yeah. I mean, it has its own sophistication, and it's still it's in the family of jazz, but it has its own distinct. When we speak the word jazz, it covers many stuff. I mean, from what my father was doing with Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway and Louis Armstrong, to Miles, to you name it. But the thing is, there's Latin jazz is also shows that influence of the two. What Dizzy did, bringing the Latin influence to the American public.
The thing about that strikes me, I mean, that was in the late 70s, and you had it was you and Mark Levine and Poncho and Cal and Rob Fisher,
Vince, yeah,
and Vince Latiano, thank you, and it was like that was still dance music. I could take my wife to that and dance to that. It was beautiful. And I think that was one of. I mean, it also clearly had Cal was a mastermind of being. He was a businessman as well as a brilliant musician, because he knew how to market his type of music, and that was still very accessible to people who just wanted to dance. And now, especially you go to jazz clubs now, you're expected to sit and watch. It's more of a spectacle as opposed to. And I think the Latin kind of thing kind of loosened it up, and it's a travesty they took it out of the Grammys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole other subject in itself. The other thing about the dancing, though, I have to say, though, that what's really great about on Latin music, you go to a club that's playing Latin music, and it's a predominantly Latin audience, and you'll notice that everybody is dancing, and I mean dancing to the same music. There'll be an 80-year-old right next to a 16-year-old, and they're listening and dancing to the music, whereas we have stratified the musical interests, and unfortunately, it doesn't. It's not, for me. It's not working.
I have to ask you your involvement with children these days. I mean, I know you have these prolific groups. The Latin Jazz Ensemble. You have the San Francisco Jazz Quartet. But again, you guys are playing, and San Francisco's kind of a world unto its own. But how do you try to? What do you do with kids these days to dust off those drums and those marimbas, and what do you do to kind of get them into that mindset, if at all?
A couple of weeks ago, I was over at a school in Vallejo working with some third graders and showing them. I brought all my saxes: soprano, alto, tenor, baritone sax. Brought clarinet, bass clarinet, flute, piccolo, alto flute, and showed them the instruments. That they're at an age that they didn't even know what these instruments are called. Some of them. So, you got to start these programs have to be more in place now. I mean, at those ages, the parents have to get kids out there listening to people play. They have to have concerts. They have to be more venues for people to play, and people really need to support it so that the musicians who are playing there are making the money necessary for them to continue doing that, as opposed to not making any economic sense for them to continue performing anymore. I mean, it's a number of things. We have to get everybody off the couch and into interacting with each other, and that's a hard nut to crack right now. I had a conversation with Quincy Jones in regards to this recently, and we're both throwing our hands up in the air trying to figure out, how is it, where is it going? We don't know.
The question I have for you in our final moments is, how much is the black media responsible for ignoring their own art form?
Gosh,
if you don't want to answer it, that's fine.
Well,
but
no. It's not that I don't want to answer it. I think Unfortunately, it's the media in general. I mean, it isn't just the black media. I mean, it's there's some things in the black community that continue on. I mean, gospel, the roots of a lot of stuff, the gospel continues on. You see that in the churches. And what comes out of that is music. Unfortunately, with Whitney's passing, you get a glimpse of what's going on there. So that continues on. But and you see some of these rappers who got up there and performed that their roots are still there in the same way. It's just the thing is that the media and the marketing of how things are handled, it doesn't get a chance to shine. There's great jazz, black jazz is happening. It's just the thing is that it just needs to be supported universally. I mean, it's like in the aviation thing. I know we got a few moments, but it's like the Red Tails about the Tuskegee Airmen, the movie that just came out. The controversy in terms of getting that out, being a pilot, I understand this totally. Why aren't there more black pilots? It's image. It's image. George Lucas is trying to change that. We're all trying to change that. This world is big enough to embrace all.
Well, Roger, I'm able to carve out an hour on Saturdays to interview my heroes and do just that. This is my way of, basically waving a picket sign on the side of the road saying we need to preserve culture and heritage and provide a bridge to the future. And I can't thank you enough for spending time with me today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the Jake Feinberg Show, first show after my daughter Asia was born. And I feel very blessed. And I also feel the need to continue to give back to our country because I have kids that need a historical understanding. So, Roger, we'll talk soon, man.
Thank you, Jake. And to the listeners out there, remember, keep jazz alive.
Amen, brother. You take it easy.
Thank you again.
This is the Jake Feinberg Show on KWFM 1330, The Star.
Life has been celebrated in word and song at a funeral at her hometown church in Newark, New Jersey. Some of the biggest names in entertainment sang along with the gospel choir, including Stevie Wonder, Alicia Keys, R. Kelly, the Winans.
I'll miss your wit, I'll miss your charm. Just wanna hold you in my arms.